going to call to order the Grand County Board of Commissioners special meeting for July 1st, 2014. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance and salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, which is the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Okay, first thing on the agenda is to approve the special meeting agenda. So moved. Second. There's a motion and a second to approve the special meeting agenda. Discussion? I have a little. Just so everybody knows what's going on today, this is an open meeting for us to discuss in open session with the Forest Service the travel management plan. That is all that's going to go on today. We're going to move down into those 3 empty chairs. You're welcome to stand around us. You're welcome to watch. You're welcome to listen. But this is discussion between us and the Forest Service. There will be no decisions made today. We will ask questions of them. They will ask questions of us. We will both answer. Everybody's going to be cordial. That's all that's going to happen today. At this point in time, then, we're going to move down into. We'll take a vote on that motion. There is no public comment. This is a work session. So at this time, all those in favor of approving the special meeting agenda? Aye. Aye. Motion passes. So we're going to move down to the table. I encourage you to initiate your own meeting with either the county commissioners or the Forest Service if you would like to have a meeting with them. Hey guys.
So I just want to say one thing before you get started, which is that I left a message for you the other day asking if there would be public comment, and I didn't receive a response.
Did you leave it on the phone here?
Yes, that's the only one I have.
Until this meeting. I'm sorry.
And the other thing is that I called Denisha Lucero at the county manager's office, and she said she thought there would be public comment. And so I wish there would be better communications that we would know if there would indeed be public comment. Well, so when I was on the phone with Denisha, we looked at the agenda and it said discussion, and to her that meant public comment, speaking, discussion. So I just want to say that it would be nice if you would make this more clear.
Sorry. Okay. You guys want to start?
We're here to answer any questions. Y'all asked us to come, so we're here.
Well, first of all, I'd just like to start saying that I think this means a few weeks too late. I really wish it had been done before we actually, before the decision was actually made. And, I really think that's very unfair for us to have our meeting before then. But so be it. It is what it is, and brings us here today.
Just to kick off, I'd like to say, you know,
put that over there, but it can't be on this table.
can't be on here.
Yeah, because we're going to be moving maps around and stuff.
The thing is this, is that I don't want to swing a match. What I'd really like to see is for a close look. This document here that I read from cover to cover and made notes on. And if I'm in Kelly, I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and I'd like to be part of it, and or a committee would like to be part of it to try to resolve any kind of differences that we may have. If any kind of differences may go to court, and that's a losing situation.
Yeah.
It's going to cost the taxpayers on both sides. And I would really like the opportunity for, and I haven't talked, Chair, they have no idea what I'm saying.
We're not supposed to.
But I don't know how far along you are with that idea, if you've ever considered it, is that we get together, not necessarily Commissioner, but I've got a couple of people in mind that I think that would be very good at it, Mr. Rogers, and then there's another gentleman, his name skipped my mind right now, but get together and work this out. Because there's a lot of data that's missing. This data, and I've got it written down here, that I feel really uncomfortable with these people standing around me. I
think people should still sit down and we could get the mics and put them up here. I think that's still...
There you go.
Yeah, you'll hear.
So the bottom line is this, Kelly, is that I'd like to have the opportunity to sit down with you, or a representative of this commission sit down with you and negotiate a representative negotiation to where we can work out our differences, whatever problems they are, work them out amongst ourselves here in Silver City rather than going to a federal court. Okay? That's all I got to say.
And I think that includes you all too.
I'm waiting for the mics because I can't hear
Well, they're
otherwise.
coming, so please.
Don't move back real quick. You'll be tripping.
Does this one work, or is it?
Yes, it
does. Okay. So, just to go over where we are in the process, we've been, this process started in 2005.
Right.
As you all know. We've gone through many meetings, with the public, with the county commissions, in the area, impacted by the Gila National Forest. And so we've worked hard to try to get input from different sides, from the counties, and we've had people attend pretty much all of your meetings, so we could always have people here, if questions came up that we needed to answer and all. So, I'm sorry if y'all didn't feel like you were part of this process for whatever reason, but we have tried to do that.
I called twice.
I'm sorry?
I called twice. I never got a response.
I'm not sure what happened there. I've responded to any request I've gotten,
That was what I wanted to tell you, is that I wanted to sit down and negotiate through a lot of this, because reading through this, there's some real problems. Problems that you will have to face later. And I don't want you to have to go through that. I'd rather us work through this, work out the problems, and try to resolve this in a minimal way so that we don't have to go to court, so that we can bring the community together, so the Forest Service and the county are agreeing. That's what I want. Because I'm not here to yell and scream and stuff. I read this, and there's a lot of problems here, and it has nothing to do with my philosophies or anything like that. It has a problem with the lack of data. The data that was given literally admits that there's no need for any change now. So why are we changing? I'll read some of it to you. Assumptive data. Incomplete data. Data stating problems with the forest when there are none. A lack of scientific data. Need to involve ourselves in representative, I already talked about that. Incomplete reports, insufficient GIS data. No data available to make a decision. The majority of this is interesting. You just talked about people coming together and calling all these meetings and stuff. I've been involved in several of the health councils data collecting. And it's interesting that, in fact, the majority of the residents self-identified themselves in your data as white, when over half of the citizens in Hidalgo and in Grant are Hispanic.
I think that's with the ethnic data and how that's done, you know.
Health Council had no problem in getting data from Hispanics. They not only had open meetings like this, what they did, Kelly, they went to events all over this community and sat down and talked to people. And they would pass out forms and stuff like that. It's a different way of collecting data, but very, very successful. They collected 5,500 surveys. Decisions made without complete or outdated or missing data, and it goes on and on. But that's neither here nor there. And a lot of these that I read, I think we can work out. I really do.
Well, again,
Once it goes beyond this or beyond any negotiation, then you're going to have to answer those.
well, you know, where we are in the process now, we're in the 45-day period where people can decide if they want to appeal or not. You know, if someone decided they wanted to appeal, then we would have the opportunity to sit down with them and go over the points in their appeal to see if we can come to any sort of resolution. And if that wasn't successful, then it would go to our regional office for them to look at the appeal and decide, you know, one way or the other. You know, and then if the person that appealed didn't like that resolution, then they could decide if they wanted to go to court or not. You know, we certainly don't want to go through any of that. Like I said, we put in a lot of time and effort, and we had thousands and thousands of comments that we evaluated to try to put together a document that would best serve the public when they come to visit the National Forest, as well as make sure that we're managing the natural resources of the Gila, you know, for generations to come. So I think we all have commonalities there. We want what's best for the land and what's best for the people. So the thing is, we have a rather diverse public that uses the National Forest, as you well know. So we've always acknowledged that we're not going to make everybody happy. So, but you know,
We understand that. Us too.
yeah. So we're working hard to try to do this. And we, you know, part of what we looked at as well was the comments from the county on the draft, and you know, utilize those as well when we're developing the final. We probably didn't meet all the requests you had in your comments, but you know, we did what we thought the best that we could, and we did feel that we used the best available science when developing the document. So.
When it comes to the appeal, the only thing that we can appeal are the comments that we've already made, correct? So we really can't appeal the whole decision. We can only appeal the comments that we have turned in.
Well, appealing means you can appeal because you have standing based on...
But only on the comments that we turned in, or is it still can
No.
we appeal anything within the...
As far as I know, it's appeal anything you want to in the document.
I just want to make sure that before we I also wanted to see, is there any way that we can get the project record index? I mean, I know that's been requested by different groups and it hasn't been done. I know I have a letter here from Cal Joyner saying that although we do not have a project projected date, the requested document will be available within the release of the final environmental impact statement.
What is that?
It actually gives a list of who turned in comments, how they decided how they're going to,
And
what information they decided to use to close each individual road.
And we're working on, we've had a number of FOIAs, you know, requests from different groups and stuff for documents related to travel management. And we're working on, some of that we provided, some of it we're still working on, because we literally have to go line by line to look for information we have to redact. If somebody didn't know that we were going to provide, say, their email address or something to the public, we have to go in and take that out, you know, redact it and black it out for that. And it's taken for, you know, 9 years of data. It's taken
So is it fair to
a
say
long
that
time.
we kind of jumped the gun and not shouldn't have even completed it because the project record index wasn't complete?
No.
Because that index has to be done before you make your decisions. How can you make your decision without a project index?
We have a project index.
Okay, so why hasn't that been released?
Yeah, we have most of it, I think that's available now.
Okay, then we'd like to get a copy of what you do have available.
Okay, if you can just send me an email or something saying exactly what you want, that would be helpful to make sure we have the same expectations.
And if possible, I'd like to pick that up this evening.
I don't know that it'd be available by the evening, but I can check and see. Depends on who's in the office that has availability. A lot of it's been redacted, but yeah.
Well, I mean, it should have been redacted if you've already come up with this decision, you're supposed to use the project representatives to come up with a decision. It should have been complete. Anthony, do you have any questions being that you represent us? I know you've been in some talks before.
Well, the only comment that I do have is that I know that the county, myself, I wrote a document as well as the county commission, and when we were in the original discussions with the travel management plan, the Forest Service requested that we did make comments and request, and as she said, we received a lot of comments, but we never received anything in return. We never received any documentation that our comments were even being considered, and maybe that's not part of the protocol, but you can receive all the documents you want, but if there's no documentation or no means of recording that they were ever addressed, I don't feel that that's really a cooperating type agency. So I think that's always been an issue through the whole process.
We consider all comments. I mean, that's part of the process. So that's been stated all along that we would consider all comments that we receive.
You know, I just feel as local governments and being elected officials, we feel that we should have been able to come to the table with you all and coordinate, not just cooperate, but coordinate on how this is being done and what roles we're going to be cut. Being that we do represent the local people here. And for that, I'm very disappointed we weren't able to take place in any type of that coordination.
We've been open for cooperating with counties.
No, you haven't, Ms. Russell, because we've tried to schedule meetings with you as individual counties, and that never happened.
We've met with a number of counties. We've met with y'all.
Yeah. We requested to go ahead and meet with you all before the furloughs. You know, at that time, the excuse was the furloughs are in, and we totally understood you didn't have a manpower to meet with us. You stated that you would contact us afterwards, and we never got contacted after the furlough. I know it takes time to get things back into order. So we took it upon ourselves to request it again. And although we didn't make communication because of, I guess, phone numbers being incorrect, we tried to reach out to you again, and we never were able to meet with you. And I know that each individual county from Catron, Hidalgo, Sierra, Luna, they all wanted to meet with you. All the members from the SWAC wanted to meet with you individually and see what they can do to try and change the travel management plan to the best of their abilities within their counties. And that just never happened. So it was very disappointing to me that, you know, I still remember a meeting where yourself, you came in and a few of your representatives came in and said, yeah, you're willing to work with us, coordinate with us, cooperate with us, and what have you. I'm just very disappointed that never took place. I also let Mr. Caldona know what I felt about these incidents down here. He also stated that he personally would take care of the appeal process. And I'm hoping that does come true, because I really feel that it wasn't fair to us the way this took place here, and I'm hoping that he does take the reins and control of the process.
Well, as you know, I did receive, we did try to schedule some meetings with SWCA, the Southwest Coalition of Counties, a couple of times. The furlough got in the way the first time. We tried to attend, we've attended every meeting y'all had. Since then, several meetings were canceled at the last minute. So, you know, we tried our best, and as you know, we talked with y'all last month down in Deming, so we've never declined to meet with anybody that met with us, so.
But that was after you made your decision. You knew how important it was for us to try to meet with you before the decision was made. And again, I'm not here to argue, but I mean, that is very disappointing.
You have more?
I do have another question. How do you plan to, to monitor the new law? How are we going to monitor it with how can I put this? I guess your staff. How are you planning to go ahead and make sure that everything is abided by?
I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, you mean by law enforcement, or what are you talking about? We'll do like any other, law or regulation that we have. The plan is not for this to take place, to be started on until next spring. So we anticipate using the time between now and then to start letting people know about new changes. And even when it gets into place, we've talked with our law enforcement, and they're not going to come down hard-handed on folks right from the beginning. They'll be issuing citations and stuff, unless it's a known person that is blatantly, they know what they're doing, and usually law enforcement guys know who that is. That's, we'll ease into it gradually,
And how are we going to put out, is there going to be signage, is there going to be fencing, is there going to be berms put in front of these roads? Because it's for the common person, it really is hard to read topo maps, and I don't care what kind of map you put out there, there's going to be a lot of confusion. So if you can't spend 3 years from now, 4 years from now, let's look at a basic situation. If somebody is looking at this map and enters the wrong one because they're kind of confused and they get cited, I don't think that's fair. Now, if it's burned, if it's marked, then I think that could be fair. I know that runs into a lot of monies. I know I looked over the maintenance issues on this report on maintenance monies, and it seems like that's a heck of a lot of money for a heck of a lot of roads. And but I really think that we got to be fair to the public to make sure that everything's marked correctly or burned. I don't think it's fair to them saying, okay, here's a map. Of course, only a selected few can go ahead and utilize these roads, but you can't. So it could be fined so much $.
What are we decided into?
That's correct.
Really important. Are they going to have to go to Albuquerque and Cruces to a federal magistrate, or are you going to cite them into state court?
I'm not real sure on that.
I think primarily it would all be the federal magistrate in Las Cruces.
Yeah. But we don't, our guys aren't out there giving out dozens of citations every day. That's not what they do.
Not yet.
I don't anticipate that in the future either. What we'll be doing is we will issue a free map to everybody that shows all the roads and routes that are open for motorized use on the National Forest. That's called the Motor Vehicle Use Map, otherwise known as MVM. Frankly, the legal document we have to provide for that is not very user-friendly. So what we'll do is provide something that's more user-friendly to go along with that. Something along the lines of what you're seeing here in front of you. We haven't quite figured out how that'll look yet. That won't happen before next spring. But we have to sort that out and figure out to make it usable. It's not going to do any good to do something this big and give it out to everybody. That's kind of crazy. It might be something, along the lines like we've done here with the section map type things. But we have to sort that out. So we'll do that. We'll be figuring out how to best sign roads that are open and make it obvious to folks where they're supposed to go. Because I believe most folks, they just want to know where they can go legally and where they can recreate. They're not out there to break laws and all that. And so we're not out there to make it hard for them to figure out where to go legally. So that's part of what we'll be working on between now and next spring.
Well, and obviously you're being pretty nice about it, but who's to say the next, because you all have been changing supervisors every 2 years, it seems like. So if the next person that comes out here wants to be hard about it, they can. So I think we still need to make it as easy as possible to make sure that people do know what's open and what is closed. I mean, you stay here for another year, another 2 years, who knows? But the next person that comes in might not feel as easy as you do. And start making sure that the LEOs are issuing citations. And that's a big thing for me because, I mean, I'm here to protect the public from for any of these type of situations. So I really feel that we need a better system when it comes to that. Now, I also saw on the old draft environmental impact statement, you all included wildlife and game tables and information that I thought was very, very crucial to this index, which was typically table 18 on page 44 and 45, and now it's completely missing on the new one. So, I mean, I'd really like to see all that taken back into consideration and be put back in there because I think that is very crucial. Even though I think it is very flawed, I really feel that it still needs to be included.
I'd have to look at the final and see where it ended up in the final.
Okay. I also had talked to a few staff members from the Gila National Forest, and I think a lot of them are confused. I think a lot of them were against the travel management themselves, and they were telling me that only 980 miles were closed. And I'm looking at them kind of funny and said, well, if that's the case, then we might agree with your with G if we're only shutting down 980 miles. But the way I calculated it, there's still 2,497 miles being closed on alternative G. And
no, I think what happened, I think, with the confusion is we're looking at closing, it's more like 1,200 and something miles. The 900 and something is closed to everyone. The extra 300 something miles is roads that are going to still be open for administrative use and by permittees, that sort of thing. So it's closed to some of the public, but not all. So there's some confusion there, but it's not 2,000 plus miles.
Well, I beg to differ. On June 18, 2013, Manager Sari asked for roads and trails, total roads and trails miles from the National Forest. And we got a document right here saying of 4,560 miles. Closed roads were 520. Decommissioned roads was 617. If you add all those up and subtract what you shut down, that's a closer number of what you shut down, what's actually being closed. So that was information that came out of your office. So and it was.
Well, it depends on which.
It was signed by yourself as a forest supervisor.
Yeah, right now we're showing that we're going to leave open 3,334 miles of road across the whole Gila National Forest. That was out of 4,613 miles that are currently open. So the difference there is about 1,200 and whatever that adds up to. I can't think of it in my head right now. But so that's what we're at.
Well, indeed, that it was an open forest. There's no such thing as a closed road or decommissioned road, although if that's what you all refer to some of these roads, because anyone can drive anywhere, which I don't agree with. I don't think anybody should be able to drive all over the forest if they're free will. I don't agree with that. I was raised being told that was against the law until I became a commissioner. I found out otherwise, that we can do that. So I took a few beatings as a kid getting off the main roads. But regardless, I mean, if these roads are accounted for, whether they're closed or decommissioned, they should have been counted on this study and on this decision.
Yeah, we felt they'd already been closed previously, so we didn't really see a need to revisit that previous decision.
Because it's automatically shut down if you don't mention those roads, according to what I understand.
They were previously closed, so, yeah. We looked at open roads and what to do about open roads on the National Forest. That was our direction from the 2005 Travel Management Plan. So that's what we worked with.
Did the Tonto National Forest get the same direction you wanted? I'm sure they did.
I'm sure they did.
Because they chose not to do anything, correct?
I'm not familiar with what the Tonto did.
Yeah, I was told that they chose to go into the open. But, of course, I mean, it wasn't completely open forest like we have here where you can drive in the park.
It's different circumstances.
You know, now, if that would have been one of the alternatives, I think we would all agree that we don't want people driving all over the place. You know, another thing that I really disagreed with was on the game retrieval. I mean, what's going to happen now? Either they're going to get fined by the Forest Service for getting off road to retrieve their game, or they're going to get fined by the Mexican Game and Fish for wasting game. So that's something that's really, really concerning to me, because most of these hunts, especially archery hunts, are in September where it's still hot. And I know I'm a guide and I'm also a hunter, and we rush really quick to get that meat out so that we make sure we don't spoil and waste that game. So it's going to be really, really hard for outfitters to do that now, and for just basic hunters, because time is of the essence when you're harvesting an animal that time of the year.
Yeah, we did that at the request of New Mexico Game and Fish. You know, they're the ones in charge of the animals and hunters, and they requested that we not treat hunters any differently than anyone else. So.
When we talk to them, they blame it on you also. It's one of those things, you know.
Well, we had a letter from them, so, you know, you're welcome to look at the letter.
See if maybe that's part of that project record index.
They've changed directors as much as we've changed supervisors and commissioners, so, you know, it all goes around.
Yes, and someone going to go to Commissioner.
Okay. My questions are more of a technical nature. And I don't know that I need a real technical answer to this, but just kind of in layman's terms, what is a maintenance level 1 road? Oh, I'm sorry, let me get a mic. I just asked, in not real technical terms, what is a maintenance level 1 road?
Brett, how's it referred to in the...
No, I just see it right here. I just thought maybe like maintenance level 1 roads maybe get maintenance once a year, or are they the most maintained, the least maintained?
Well, it's just a designation for those roads that are closed or decommissioned. That's what it is.
So a maintenance level 1 road is a road that's closed or decommissioned?
Yes, which basically means it gets no maintenance, so.
Okay, so that's the least amount of maintenance.
It is.
Okay. So on your determination on roads that are closed, because on the previous decisions on page 5 on the EIS, right, it talks about the roads that were closed. Do we actually have documents showing that those roads were closed? Or, because I know on the maps that some of those roads were never marked closed, so I didn't know. I mean, they're marked closed now on the map. But I mean, when you go out and actually look at the road, it's not closed. So I just wondered, is there a document where it was surveyed and said, hey, here, we're closing this road? Or how did you determine what was closed and what wasn't closed?
I think it relates to the overall database when we started travel management. So there was a whole series of roads in the database that were closed or decommissioned. And that's really basically what we would have.
So it's just some predetermination that everybody agrees that all these roads are closed, even if they're being used.
Well, I think it dates back for many, many years as certain decisions were made to close roads, or there was a decommissioning that took place. So that was reflected in a database that the engineers had for all the roads across the forest.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm just confused how you can have closed or decommissioned roads, I guess, in an open forest, but that just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but we'll move on then. So a motorized trail that's less than 50 foot in width, what's the difference between a motorized trail and
I think that's inches.
that is inches?
Yes.
Never mind.
Yeah.
That's why I put my glasses on. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's just a single track trail that you could use motorcycles on? Motorized?
Well, I think, let's look at this. So the motorized trails, that was primarily looking at like ATV, 50-inch and less. And of course, that would accommodate a single track too, but it was mostly coming from the ATV community, and that 50-inch was something that came down based on trail standards. And that's what it is.
Is that enough?
You know, many of those are old roads, so a lot of them are going to be two-track anyway, but it'll just depend on the road, so.
Well, by the time they get through it, it'll just meander through there anyway. Okay. So, on the TMR, did you guys feel as though when you read the TMR that it was an order to close roads? I know it was just, I'm asking you what your opinion was. I don't want to tell you what mine is.
My interpretation of the travel management rule was that we were supposed to look at all of our motorized access on the National Forest and determine where motorized access could be utilized on the National Forest, and that did not include cross-country travel. We could designate, what you might call play areas, larger areas, and we have one of those up near Reserve, but that was that we were supposed to come up with a way to manage motorized travel on the National Forest. And it was up to each National Forest to determine their own way of doing it, basically. So that's why it's not a standardized way across. But this is a national rule, so it wasn't just the Gila.
So you didn't feel at all that through the travel management rule that there was a predetermined decision kind of forced upon you?
Just the cross-country rule.
Just the cross-country.
I don't know what it was forced, but yeah, that was general direction. So we didn't go into this thinking we have to close as many roads as we can or leave open as many roads as we can or whatever. We had to objectively look at each road on the National Forest and determine if there was a true need for it. Many of the roads that we've suggested to be closed are little tiny road, eighth of a mile, less than half of a mile roads. A lot of them may have been left over from when there was more logging use, and they might have gone to a log deck or something like that. They might have been parallel to another road, so why do you need two roads right next to each other? That's the sort of thing we're looking at, as well as potential impacts on archaeological resources, as well as, wildlife and endangered species, that sort of thing, so.
Do you happen to know the longest road you closed?
I had it in here somewhere. I'll find my cheat sheet. We had a couple of longer roads. I think those were mostly in areas where there was some access points. Is that right, Ross? Do you want to?
I don't know off the top what the longest distance would be.
Were you able to?
I think our longest one was, there was an 8-mile one, somewhere between 7.6. There was one of those. I'm not sure where it was, but yeah.
So these are the maps of closed roads?
This is just Grant County, these maps here.
Right.
Yeah, these are not the whole forest. And that 7.6-mile road I mentioned, I don't know the exact location of it. It may not be in Grant County. I think we figured out that something like 96% of all non-wilderness land is going to be within 2 miles of the road. So it's still fairly close access for the most part.
Okay.
And it's very close access for most of us that can get around, but for people that are disabled and stuff, and that's not very close.
Yeah, and the issue with, folks with disabilities, that's always a hard one. We went with national direction on that in terms of making sure we didn't go into ADA laws or anything. And so we went along with that.
Well, that's not really fair to say because there's ADA laws are mostly for buildings and that kind of government buildings and what have you, not for forest or normal.
I'm sorry. Ramos? Is this a public meeting and I cannot hear?
What I stated was that I was really upset that we did not have more handicap considerations. And if you're shaking your head, then that means you probably heard me the first time.
No, I didn't hear you, and that's why I asked you to repeat yourself as, is this a public meeting?
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
That's where you had to evacuate, isn't it? Yes. I just asked if this is an area they had to evacuate. So the yellow with the green is roads open to all motorized vehicles, okay? What is it?
You know, we'll say in Grant County that we have the most number of designated motorized trails for ATVs on the whole forest, and that was from a number of roads that were converted on the behest of the ATV community to become trails rather than totally closing them. So we tried to work with that wish as well.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
nice question.
you may.
I was wondering, you said that the maintenance level 1 means no maintenance, essentially.
Essentially, yeah.
How many of the roads that you're closing are going to be that, at that level?
Well, you know, essentially most of them will essentially go into that category now. You know, some we'll be looking at in the future whether or not we want to basically, trying to remember the term I'm trying to think of, rehab them basically to go back to nature, so to speak. So that'll come over time. It's nothing we're going to do right away. That takes money. You know, we don't have a heck of a lot of money to do that process.
So you think you'll maintain the ones that you're going to continue to use for administrative purposes?
Yes. Yeah, especially, you know, because they're going to be open, a lot of those will be open for, the ones that will be open for administrative use, specifically, a lot of those will be used by our career mentees, private landowners, that sort of thing, so they'll definitely be, You know, we don't have any intention of getting rid of motorized use on the National Forest. We don't have any plans to turn the whole Gila National Forest into a designated wilderness area. You know, anything like that. The use of, there's a lot of different recreational use that's appropriate on the National Forest. The challenge is making sure that it doesn't irreparably damage the National Forest while it's happening. So that's what we're trying to start to balance with.
That's kind of what kind of bothers me is that if these roads are still going to exist for permitted use, then you're kind of discriminating against a person that is actually wanting to use that road because they're not creating any more damage than the permittee when they use that road. And to me, if you're closing the road, if there was a reason behind it, and it should have been something that affected the aquifer, something that affected just a special area of some sort, but not just to shut it down from the public and let somebody else use it.
Well, not all of the roads that are being closed will be open for use by permittees. It's just a number of those. And it's also a matter of volume. There's a difference between somebody going to check their cows occasionally and having, you know, a whole club of people coming in and following each other. But like I said, it's only it's not all the roads that will be open for use by permittees and others. So it's just the identified ones that are needed for that.
You know, I will say, Dave, on that, prior to finalizing the EIS, that was became a significant issue. So we had a lot more roads that were designated for administrative use under written authorization specifically for permittees, and we removed the vast majority of those because of that perception from, special people getting some privileges, yeah. So I think a lot of our, those roads are dashed, kind of the dashed white lines there. A lot of those roads are landlocked. Many of them are leased by private, but there's still a need for that person that raises cattle back there to occasionally use that road. But the public doesn't have access to get to them. Many of them.
And see, that's where you're going to find something that's be very unfair, because a rancher that has a permit is going to be able to utilize that land and actually start charging people to go hunt back there and drive them back there when he has that permit. And I think that's going to be very, very unfair to the actual normal hunter or citizen.
Yeah, in our cases, it has to be related to his livestock operation. For those periodic requests where he needs to go in and fix an improvement or remove an injured animal, it likely wouldn't be permitted, to accommodate out for the value because it's not really.
So as long as they go out in the feed, they can go drive back there and get dropped off and utilize that beautiful forest back there where we can.
There could be abuses, but I think we'll have to manage that and see how that develops. But most of the roads that were designated were changed to reflect that issue.
So there's a statement made in the document that we received that during the scope, the Forest Service personnel from collection reported that 2% of the forest visitors created most of the problems included in the FEIS. Wouldn't it be better to concentrate our law enforcement towards the 2% rather than focus on 98% of the responsible public?
Well, I think you're probably more aware than most of us of the fact that many laws we have on the books are related to the rule breakers rather than those who follow the rules. So, that's a constant fact of life that's out there.
It just seems to me, and I've never had the opportunity to do enforcement on forest, but it seems to me it would be best to collect your intelligence about where the violations are. Then make a determination where you're best going to put the enforcement. In other words, if there's a problem with people going off the road and you see damage, and you see that is fresh damage, and generally on the weekends, wouldn't it be best just to put someone out there at that trail and watch, and when someone does violate it, then cite them?
We do that as much as we can.
But it wouldn't be easier to do that than to enforce on 98% of the public who's out there just mom and pops?
Well, I think, like I mentioned before, most folks want to know where they can go legally. This process enabled us to take a hard look at all the roads that have developed on the National Forest over the last 100+ years and decide, did we truly leave them all open or not? And do something about the ones that might be causing resource damage, do something about the ones that we truly just didn't really need, and make sure that we had a manageable system of roads out there.
Kind of like on the designation of camping quarters, does not take into consideration the area in which these people and the vegetation in which they are. And so what's happening is that the camping corridors encompass a vast majority of the sites already used, you said, and so what's the need for any kind of designation?
It's a matter of how the rule is written. We have the option of designating camping corridors or not, basically. So we chose to be more liberal in that and actually designate some camping corridors. Many forests did not do that.
How do you foresee that working out? I mean, I motorized a lot in the forest. And I pull my trailer out and try to find an area where there's no one else. And I camp. I'm one of those that's very careful in camping. I can't tell you how many rooms I've cleaned out and spread out before I even set my camp stuff. But I think that's taken away from those who are responsible. And these, I just perceive this group of trailers all in one spot.
Well, many times when you go out there's a lot of people, especially during hunting season, that's the whole part of the experience. They like to get a bunch of people in one area and camp. And we've tried to designate most of those camping areas that people use so that they can still go out there with their families and camp as a group. We've also left it open so that people can just go out there along areas like they do now and pick a spot and camp. So hopefully we've managed to meet most of those needs. You know, as part of this process, and as we go through this, we may identify other areas we need to tweak or something, and that's going to be part of this whole process for, you know, returning to this.
What we need to answer this, coming on the Red Rock Road, okay, when you go through that housing development, and you have that forest road that goes into, or what's called Shrine Mine Road for years, and it hits the Sawmill Canyon. I don't see that marked in the map anymore, and it's been a favorite camping place for hunters and just people who want to get out of town to camp. I don't see that anymore.
So we have to look at this map over here in the boroughs.
Okay.
But I know the Shrine Line, you go through there and it continues on up and connects back to the Red Rock Road.
But there's so this is the one that Sawmill is before you get to Shrine, and you go up that White Canyon, and you go your right and go up to the old Red Rock Road. You know that Red Rock Road that was fenced off?
Let's look at this boroughs map and we're going to find out. So here's the line 8, and this is the Shrine Line. Comes up here.
Coffee or water? Water would be great.
See, right in here, right in here, Russell, there's a road. If you go Sawmill, then you go up here, and the old Red Rock Road is right here, and it connects to this road that goes over to 90. Is this? We've used that road I've used it for about 40 years. And there's been camps in there, not only deer hunting, but just for recreation. Right down in here, there's that little spring.
Yeah, there's the road that goes east here, that's open. And then there's a whole series of ATV routes in here.
Right in here. That's what I was concerned about, because this is where we used to go up and then hit this old Red Rock Road. Then you could go and hit this and go over to the Red Rock Road itself. This is the old road, isn't it? Old Red Rock Road?
No, I think this is the Red Rock here in this dashed red line coming like this.
No, but I mean the old one. It's no longer designated. Once this was put in, it was no longer. I don't know if you guys pulled that out or not.
You know, I think right now it's showing up on the map probably as an ATV trail.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that would be then, let me ask you this question, then if I come in on this road here, this SC4, and hit Sawmill, could I take my ATV up this canyon?
No.
I cannot. And that there is a real popular place, I tell you, it's used by people a lot. If you go in there, you'll see the use that's been there for years and years and years. Has it ever been a road?
I think on some of the alternatives, it probably is showing up not on this alternative, but some of the other alternatives in the EIS.
So,
might be showing up.
Russell, is that one of them that that the Forest Service would have considered a decommissioned road?
I'm not sure the history on that. I couldn't answer that.
Meadow Creek?
If you go get in a vehicle, we can.
I don't know. one I want to talk to you on Meadow Creek, Russell, is the one where then you go all the way down to the bottom, and then it switches back to your left. Then there's that one road that's been there for years, there's a corral, if you can go to your left, and it's the main road, goes on down to the Boy Scout camp and stuff. But if you turn to your right, it goes to an old corral there. The corral's almost gone now. I couldn't find that road is open.
So here we'd be right at
This is the switch back here.
yeah, you go down, this is the road that went farther down to Boy Scout.
Right,
And
this is what I'm talking about.
That one,
This is what I'm talking about. I see it on this one, I couldn't find it on the smaller one. But this one here, see the red, I had it all coded out here. So red and white, closed to all use. So this is gonna be closed. That's right there by the little creek, it's a great little place for a tent. And it's got a little corral area still there. I'm really surprised you're closing that off.
you know, this was one of, and I was visiting with Brett over here on another road in the Burrows, but when we started the analysis in this process, so we were basically overlaying riparian areas, you know, sensitive species habitat, heritage sites, whole number of issues that potentially roads had caused problems with. And so the number of the roads that they were in riparian areas, if we could stay out of those areas, that, you know, that was the direction we went. So some of these roads that are in intermittent or permanent riparian areas, they in the end didn't get open.
Is that one that you would look at again? Have you been in there recently?
You know, I've been down Meadow Creek many times, and
That switchback, this one that we're talking about.
you know, I guess there is an opportunity,
If you really
at the end, but I don't know how that process will work. I don't know.
Do you remember the corral that used to be there?
Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah.
You know,
What was it like last week?
this is kind of related, but I think because of the burn up there on Single Peak, you know, we're quite concerned what's going to happen down in Meadow Creek. And so we're likely to keep that whole Meadow Creek Road down there closed, and just to see what kind of get through, see what the monsoons do, because I think we're expecting some pretty high flows, and that's a real tight canyon, and people have camped in there, and they could have some.
Now, that road that goes from the bottom, that goes on, when you get to the bottom, you can go up, go to your right. I don't know, but it's before you get to the Boy Scout camp, and it's the old road that goes up to the main road. I don't know if that's motorized or if it's just a hiking trail. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, so as you're going down Meadow Creek, would it be on the left?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's,
the old road that used to go down into the Boy Scout camp.
yeah, that one's not shown motorized anymore.
I guess, since we were talking about it off mic, we ought to talk about it on mic. I agree with this one too. This is a nice little day ride. My family and I have made it a number of times.
Which road?
Goat Canyon.
Okay.
I mentioned it the first time we ever talked. It's a nice little day ride. It's solid rock. In the winter, solid ice. It's a lot of fun. I'd like to revisit that. I know people get off of it and tear things up in areas everywhere, and that's why we're having to go through all this. If people acted responsibly, we would have a whole lot
With any reports, any police or nothing, huh?
well, no doubt. I know Anthony had a question on some economic data.
Well, my question is related to the fact that not only Grant County, but all the surrounding counties and municipalities depend on the forest for not only their tourism aspect, but economic development and economic impact. Well, now, reading the economic impact statement, which I would assume would
would identify, qualify, and quantify potential economic impacts. It seems to me like it did nothing but disqualify part of the economy. For instance, gasoline and food and lodging were all disqualified from the economic impact statement because they couldn't quantify exactly how much of that stayed within the county, or the municipality. So it's beyond me why you would take those type of economies and disqualify them whenever they actually have the most impact. The only thing that was really paid attention to was the employment directly related to the forest and directly related to ATV sales or something like that. But all of the small stuff, all the grocery receipts type economic impact was never, it was all disqualified. So while I think that that's probably the largest of all the impact to the local economy, it was disqualified. And so therefore, the whole economic impact statement, I think, was flawed in that if you disqualify the largest impact, how can that be relevant to what the actual impact would be on closing roads and reducing the amount of overall gasoline that people use when they go to the forest. May potentially reduce the overall amount of users. Those are the type of things. When I went through the economic impact statement, they were. Matter of fact, the first couple of paragraphs says exactly that. We had to disqualify gasoline. We had to disqualify so many things. So I read economic impact statements all the time, and the disqualification of potential largest impact, I've never seen that before. So I don't know who the economist was that did this statement, but I think that it was extremely flawed in the way they did things. That's my comment.
I'm not an economist by any means. For this, it seems to me for the social economic impacts, those types of analyses are always very complex and all. We did use a contractor for that. So they have certain models they use, and what you're seeing may be a result of the models that they chose to use.
Well, and that's my question. It doesn't cite a model, and the only portion of it, I think that the Forest Service itself would be extremely caring in how they did that, because they depend also on the local governments to provide advertisement, to provide the local Chamber of Commerce, the Visitor Center, all those places to sell the forest. Because that's how the forest makes a little bit of revenues for their maintenance type programs. So it would, if I was a forest, it would behoove me to try and identify those impacts as critically as possible, because I would think that would be my bread and butter. So it was kind of extremely difficult for me to understand why there were just so many things that were disqualified. It's like, we can't quantify this, so we're going to let it go. We're going to let it go. We're going to let it go. And so I just never seen a model like that, and so I had a question about it, and I think that probably should be taking a look at it again. And if you really read it, it don't take long. You have to read the first page, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we're just as concerned with economics of the area and the national forest impacts on it. That's very important to us as well. We're certainly not in this to negatively impact the economy of the area. So our hope is that by doing this and managing the motorized travel, we're still going to have many opportunities for people to get out and recreate and use the national forest for a variety of things. So we're certainly not in it to negatively impact the economy.
One of the concerns I had, there were some of your studies that wasn't completed. And you said that then you will assess that at a later date. at that later date, when your survey or whatever the study is, will that be subject to then conversation with the public, conversation with the county, or is that just an open book?
Which studies are you talking about?
There's several in here. There may be 4 or 5 that I found.
We've had some
We
ongoing.
couldn't make a decision because the studies weren't in yet. We were still looking at it. And so once it does happen, are these areas that you were talking about, are they going to be subject to then discussion?
You may have been, some of what you may be talking about is some of our cultural heritage surveys and stuff, so there's some places we anticipated,
That's what I would guess.
right, keeping roads open and stuff, but it really depended on what happened from the cultural resource surveys. And so that's something we'll be coming back on, once we get the
When
results.
you say coming back, what do you mean by that?
We'll be issuing in our documents the status of that road, if it's going to change from what the preliminary was, so we'll be going back out to...
That input would be allowed?
I assume, yeah.
Assume.
Yeah. As far as I know, we generally get comments on everything we do, so I don't know why that would be different.
Mr. Chairman, can I have one more comment? And it has to do with the fact that I've been here, quite a long time. And this is the first time that the Forest Service is already actually identified us as a cooperating entity or a cooperating agency, because I'm assuming because of the NEPA process. But maybe I can go back a little bit, and maybe Russell might be more familiar with what I'm about to comment on. But the Forest has gone through several different things. First, there was a cooperating agreement between Grant County and the Forest Service to maintain roads. One that the Forest Service wasn't able to meet their end of the bargain, so to speak. And so then there was a road classification system that the Forest went through to identify the types of maintenance that each road was going to receive. Later on, because of the maintenance budget, that's what it usually was, the maintenance budget, there wasn't enough maintenance. So the Forest Service came to the county and said, can you maintain these at a more higher level, because we reclassified our roads. This is what we classified our roads as. Our roads are at the time, that's why I'm trying to know this. And could we get the county to cooperate with us to try and increase their maintenance, because we're no longer able to maintain. But the county was more than willing to do what they needed to do to assist, because they had public usage. Next, there was a huge GIS, which I'm assuming was trying to establish that database that Russell was talking about earlier. The county, of course, was a cooperating agency, and that we assisted in everywhere that the county had impact, or we felt that we were either maintaining or not maintaining, or were in part of the agreement or not part of the agreement. We certainly were willing to participate. This is the only time. I've been here almost 18 years now, and I've been dealing with transportation. This is the only time that, and I commented earlier about Grant County having some issues or some concerns about how things were done. This is the only time that we asked the circumstances to be met, and there was no communication back to us. We've always had a real good relationship with the Forest Service, whether it's through maintenance or law enforcement or whatever. But this was the only time that I've seen in my entire tenure in Grant County that those same common ground rules or courtesies, whatever it may be, but weren't really adhered to. I'm kind of the commissioner almost kind of disappointed in that, because I have been working on it. I know a lot of the staff have known for years and years and years, and we're friends, and this is the only time that it was never taken care of. So, and I've been there since 2005. I was with the county manager when we first had the very first kickoff meeting, and the very first thing that they told us is the reason you're here is we want to communicate and participate with you as cooperating agencies. And I don't think that courtesy was ever fulfilled. So. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
What is your maintenance budget?
The question is what was the maintenance budget?
I'm trying to remember, I don't remember the exact amount. I think every year we get enough money to maybe maintain about 500 miles of road across the whole forest. You know, and that's not 500 different miles of road each year, obviously, because some roads are main roads that may need work every year. And then we have different things that come up, like the floods last year, that change our priorities of which road needs to be worked on, that kind of thing.
And I understood, because I'm just kind of looking at that, at a table, which showed that alternative G would cost an annual cost of maintenance of $4,880,000. God, we all wish that you all got that much money for maintenance. That's never going to happen. And I guess what my biggest point is that, of course, there's never going to be enough money to maintain these roads, and there never has been. Most of these roads have been, all these roads have been made by different people for different reasons. And what I'm trying to get to is, not only were they made by these people, but they've been maintained by us, the hunters, the fishermen, the hikers, just people that are out there using them. And whenever there's a downed tree or what have you, we cut and get it out of the way and continue to utilize that road. So I think there's just misunderstanding when you see these tables showing that that's how much it costs, and it kind of makes people think that that's why you all are closing these roads, because we don't have that amount of money to go ahead and maintain what we currently have. But I think somewhere in there maybe it should mention the actual percentage of roads that are actually maintained.
Well, like I said, it's around 500 miles a year. You know, that's why we appreciate the work that, has been done in the past, working with the different counties for, cooperative maintenance agreements. And, we turn some roads over to the counties because they, best suited county ownership or whatever, maintenance, because they were more accessing private lands and stuff like that. So, we definitely appreciate that relationship over the years.
And also on the EIS, I believe that, the hunting impact wasn't correct. I believe somewhere I read it was somewhere about $750,000 impact. I think just in Grant County you get about $750,000 impact. And if you start looking at some of the studies that New Mexico State has done, the impact in Catron County is substantially larger than that. And I wish those type of studies that have already been made by institutions like New Mexico State could have been included in these environmental impact studies.
And then we do through this. We've got a wilderness area, and we're proud of it, and I support it 100%. I think it would be wrong to start developing another wilderness area, and I have a concern, and I really do. I'm not saying to overspeak what we're talking about here, but there's so many loopholes in this that you can start closing it down, and the neatest way for you to deal with it would be that if it was another wilderness area, you wouldn't have to be concerned with it.
We have absolutely no plans to develop another wilderness area. That was the process.
They're concerned.
Well, somebody's talking about it. It's not in our agency.
And I think it's a misconception issue.
Yeah.
No, I'm not talking about being a misconception. They're just concerned that they're going to keep doing it until pretty soon it's so restricted. You have another wilderness or near wilderness that you can just drive through on the blacktop, and that's it.
And by doing this,
that's not our plan.
Right.
That's not our plan. I can stop that real
quick. What I'm going to do is, there's a whole bunch I could ask, but I don't think it's going to do any good because I don't think we're going to go anywhere with this. But what I've been doing is, I talked to a gentleman named Bill Rogers. I don't know if you know Bill or not. And Bill put this together, and Bill put a lot of work in it. And, you know, whenever he first gave it to me, I said, Bill, you sure you want me to show this to the Forest Service? He said, yeah, I'm going to turn it into. But there's a lot of good information here that I think that would be really important that for you guys to look at and read. It's easy reading. It gives page numbers after page number of different things that are in there that you can refer to and read it. And I think you'll see just reading through it that in fact there's some changes that need to be done. And that's what I want. Because, I mean, we'll probably end up with this thing anyhow. I understand we're going to have, we're having a problem with the pages that are taken off that go nowhere, or you have two roads going the same place, or you got a road that's abusing maybe a waterway or something like that. I have no problem with those. But it goes up to the cap. It really bothers me that
now they've changed the name to Broad Mesa.
It's down better. And if we state something, make sure it's good, pure science, and not just some kind of assumption of someone, because their assumption is just as good as mine or anyone else's then. And we're basing this, an important document on these assumptions, which I don't think is good. So, you've got that, and I hope you really do. And Russell, I'd like for you to read it too. I should have made two of them. Is for you guys to look at that.
Denisha.
Yeah, I can give them a copy. We'll be glad to look at it.
Thank you.
I was going to have Denisha make you a copy. You want to make one? Okay.
He just gave this to me, so.
I was just going to make a copy for you.
No, I think he gave this to me to keep, so.
Okay.
And Russ and I are in the same office, so I can give it to him.
Good enough.
I have one more thing. Do you have a draft of, I think that in the EIS and what's been voiced to us as far as concern, as far as fuel areas, do you have a draft of what was going to come on the next permit cycle? Because I know that the permits don't address that at this point.
Right.
And I think that the EIS points directly to the permit. Is there a draft so people can get a heads up on what's going to happen, what's not going to happen?
We're working on that right now. It's too early, you know. We'll be developing that over the next few months and figuring out.
Okay. I would just hope that, I mean, that's another
big
part of
concern for us, so yeah, we want to
because
make sure.
people not only to, fuel wood for their families, but some people cut fuel wood commercially.
Yeah.
And so I think that would be really advantageous that they had a draft of that before January 1 when you have to go get a permit.
Are these the same maps that we had up front? That you gave us up?
These are just Grant County. The other ones you had might have had other counties on them. Might have been, yeah.
I think, and Brett asked for these, but these maps have the closed or decommissioned roads on there, and the other ones that you guys have didn't show those.
Just have the open roads.
Right.
Russell, do we have any extras of these that we can have?
Y'all can keep these. We didn't, we just made these up special. Sorry, we just made these up special for today, so we don't.
Special for Brett.
Well, how special is it?
Well, some people say.
On the appeals process, I know there was tons of appeals turned in by different groups over in Santa Fe, and all of them got turned down. Is that fair to say that that's usually what happens at every forest?
It can really vary. Sometimes it'll go one way or the other. It just really depends on the documents involved. So I don't know how it's gone on other forests with travel management. I know some, like I said, it can vary from place to place. So hopefully, if whatever appeals we will get, we'll then take a look at the appeals and schedule meetings with the appellants if they so desire to discuss their appeal and see if we can come to any kind of resolution before it, goes further.
And who gets to decide if it's a valid appeal?
Well, they're all valid appeals, but it all goes to the regional forester.
Okay, so he's the one that gets to decide if they're going to talk about it or if it's going to be...
Oh, no, we offer to talk on all of them. He's the one that decides which way the appeal goes.
Okay. So I guess what I'm trying to get to is, over in Santa Fe, all the appeals went through, we went through the appeal process, none of them were recognized, and now they're in the lawsuit process, I believe.
There's only one lawsuit.
Okay, well, the one lawsuit is there, one too many probably. But yeah, and that's what I want to try and avoid here. Hopefully we can make our appeal known and meet someone.
Yeah, but that's our hope too. I mean, it's going to the lawsuit process is a long, now expensive on both sides, and I don't know that it resolves anything. It's better if we can get together and mutually come to a
That's my
conclusion.
original statement. I really want to do that. And I want to work through this. I really do.
Yeah, so do we.
I have nothing further other than maybe a closing statement. Do you guys want to close, have a little closing statement?
I just appreciate y'all, talking with us. I know it's a frustrating process, and look forward to, trying to resolve some of the issues in the future, if any come up.
Absolutely. Well, just in closing then, I for one, I appreciate you guys. You've come every time I've asked you to. We've missed some meetings in times that we probably need to have. I wish we could have sat down and actually done this on the few roads. I don't think we're that far apart. I really don't. A few little things here and there, and I'm assuming that the Game Commission may want to revisit the 300 foot. I don't know. That just didn't. I don't even know why you had any if it's only 300 feet. That just doesn't make any sense at all to me. But
like I said, they just requested we not treat them any different than anybody else. So that's,
well, but so
I'm asking for their philosophy on that.
Yeah, but even 300 feet treats them different. So I can be 300 foot off the road anywhere, or only for game retrieval?
Well, it varies. There's a camping corridor that it can be used for
Right, so you are-
retrieval and camping.
Yeah, I mean, that's it's a really technical thing, but yeah, we are treated somewhat.
We're working in firewood in there too, so.
So, but I do appreciate you guys for coming. I appreciate, and I've actually become friends with you in the last 4 years. I hope that we've always treated you properly. We will continue to do that. I hope we can revisit the retrieval. I hope we can revisit the few roads that we talked about. I still have, in my mind, I can't see. I still think those 1,200 miles, if they would have just been surveyed and allowed to rise or fall on their own merits, there's a potential we wouldn't be here at all. I think we're going to have a hard time finding documentation where those roads were closed. So de facto, they're closed because we're closing the forest. And I'm a proponent of closing the forest. I do not believe in an open forest. I don't think we should make more roads. I think that if we'd allowed those roads to rise or fall on their own merits, we would have been much better off. I do think that natural values were taken into consideration at a much higher rate than economic, cultural, the other values that were listed in NEPA that you're supposed to. I think natural values were absolutely at the highest level, and I'm not sure that NEPA, that's what they intend. I think that everything's supposed to be kind of rated equally. So, and you don't have to respond to that. This is me closing. So, at this time, unless you guys have something else, I think we can.
Well, I do have just one more question, and
One more question.
what is going to be protocol on the, say, missing person, or knowing that somebody's hurt in a designated area and they need to utilize a road? What's going to be protocol?
We'll always allow for emergency access where they can get to the site.
And what if, for instance, Anthony's son gets lost on Road 186 and it's closed, but he goes looking for him on his ATV? Is he going to get penalized for doing that? We need a protocol, I mean, I think...
But we've never, when it comes to search and rescue, we work with the state police and search and rescue and all law enforcement, so that's never been an issue, and I don't see that being an issue,
And that's very basic.
As long as he can prove he's going after a kid and not some 10-point buck or something, so.
Yeah, I think 30 point.
Yeah.
30-point buck.
Yeah. But no, we will always work with enforcement for any kind of emergency.
Yeah, because health, safety, and welfare is our call, so that's really big for us.
Yeah.
We really do appreciate you. Russell, again, congratulations.
And when's your last day?
October 31st.
Oh, you still got some time. That's Halloween.
I know.
Again, thank you for coming. We really appreciate it.
So I have a motion to adjourn. Can I have a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes.